Hi, my name is Joan Miller, and it's great to be with you today. Love them or hate them, most of us have them, and that's our family. This is my family. My mom and dad are with my brother watching from above in heaven. I have 5 sisters, 9 nieces and nephews, and 9 great nieces and nephews. Pardon me, this is part of my injury. 32 years ago, I answered I will when I was asked a question about the man that I love. And one moment in June of '99, I was almost stripped from this family. I have since then become a woman on a mission. I'm on a mission to help you understand the greatest gift every single one of us got the day we were born, and that gift is the gift of choice, and how your choices can and will impact the lives of people around you. My choice is my voice, and I think you'll understand why by the end of my story. On June 12, 1999, my husband John and I were in Ogden, Utah, attending a business seminar. That night, while driving from the conference to our hotel, 5 miles, we were rear-ended and broadsided. The crash involved 3 cars, 6 people, and was caused by one speeding, hit-and-run drunk driver. As we were broadsided, my head slammed against the passenger window, breaking my head into 24 pieces, breaking my skull into 24 pieces. My head resembled a ripe peach that you just dropped on the ground, so envision that splat. Well, that was the right side of my head. When the cars finally stopped spinning, John looked over at his unresponsive wife. I was barely breathing. My head was up against a shattered window. Blood was trickling out of my left ear, and my hands were just twitching on my lap. John was seriously injured and emotionally traumatized by that point. The first responders got there in no time flat and started cutting me out of the wrecked car. They then stabilized me and whisked John and I off, lights and sirens blaring, to the closest trauma hospital. My emergency brain surgery lasted for hours as the team of neurosurgeons tried to repair the damage my own skull had done to my brain. You see, those 24 pieces of skull had gone in and carved out chunks of brain matter, while at the same time there were shards of skull sticking into my brain like a pincushion. I was also bleeding from underneath my brain into my brain, and it was blowing up like a balloon. So in essence, my brain was under attack. I was minutes away from death, and the prognosis didn't look good. The lead neurosurgeon told my husband John that I may not survive the night, but if by chance I did, and heavy on the if, I would more than likely live the rest of my life in a vegetative state. I was diagnosed with a severe traumatic brain injury. In fact, the only thing functioning was my brain stem, and that was minimal at best. My entire brain had been shifted in my skull. An injury as severe as mine has a 97% mortality rate, and the other 3% live their lives in a vegetative state. I'm truly a miracle. I understand that, and I'm grateful for that. But you guys, the things leading up to this was not my choice, and certainly wasn't my husband John's choice. I spent 4 days in a coma, one of which was my birthday, and 2 weeks in ICU. My family members were they were called about the crash, and they took a red eye, and they were in Ogden the next day. They were allowed to come into the ICU and see me and say their goodbyes. I wasn't expected to make it. Recently, I learned from my youngest sister, Lisa, who is very spiritual, very, very much a spiritual woman. When she was in the ICU, she kept telling me, Joan, don't go towards the light. Stay away from the light. Now, do you think that was my family's choice to say their goodbyes? All because someone else made the choice to drink and then drive? See how we fall back to choice? That gift we were given at birth, and how one bad choice can impact a person's life, or a family's, a community's life. When I was physically able to take a charter jet, a medical jet, the hospital at the hospital in Ogden, Utah, released me to the Rehabilitation Institute of Oregon, otherwise known as RIO, at Good Samaritan Hospital. When I got to Rio, the staff asked me if I knew where I was and what I was doing there. I said, yeah, this is my high school, St. Mary's Academy, and I'm going to school. When they tried to tell me where I really was and what I was doing there, I thought they were crazy. There was no way I was in some kind of hospital. These people are just trying to keep me all confused and trying to convince me that I'm crazy. I know I'm in St. Mary's. Well, St. Mary's is a red brick building, and Good Samaritan is a red brick building. So whenever I looked out the window, I saw red brick. So of course I'm at St. Mary's, I'm not at a hospital. So part of my past, very distant past, had become my present. I was also really confused because it seemed like anybody who walked by me or sat next to me in my special room at St. Mary's asked me my name, my age, my husband's name, the year, the city I was in, just same questions over and over and over again, things you would know about yourself. I imagine if I asked any of you out there what your names were, you'd be able to answer, right? I'm thinking you're all nodding. Anyway, I found out years later, the reason they kept asking me these same questions over and over and over again was because my answers kept changing. So they had to gauge who I was cognitively in order to get the right rehabilitation team set up, because I was going to need a whole lot of work. I was an absolute mess. So for the next 2 months, I had to relearn basic living skills like walking and talking, brushing my hair, brushing my teeth. My pelvis was broken, so not only did it hurt to walk, I had forgotten how to walk. Just basic walking. It took 2 nurses on either side of me, sloughing me around, pushing my feet so that hopefully my muscle memory would kick in and I would begin to remember how to walk. It took so long for them to teach me how to do that. I had to learn how to distinguish sensations like hot and cold or sweet and sour. I imagine, and the safety part of that went around it. For example, if you walk into a kitchen, you see a red burner, you don't touch it, right? Well, I had no idea. So they had to teach me, you don't touch a red burner. It's hot, it'll burn you. And same thing goes for drinking a cup of coffee or something. You know that you sip, right? I didn't know any of that. I would just do whatever I wanted willy-nilly. It was just crazy. Even just like a child, I had to learn how to use a spoon and fork again and feed myself. And just like a child who's learning how to eat, they wear a whole lot down the front of them. You've probably seen it, and a whole lot down it's on the floor, it's everywhere. It was the same thing with me. Bigger the kid, bigger target, I wore a lot more food around on me. It was very sad. One day, I had to learn how to drink from a cup again, okay? But that was a completely foreign object. So one day, this cup appears on my tray, and I managed to get my hand around it. And when I picked it up, I noticed there's some kind of liquid in it. What do I do here? Had no idea, so I poured it on my head. When in doubt, pour things on your head. Don't do that, but that was my mindset at that time. Well, excuse me a second while I get a drink. The staff at Rio wanted me to start learning how to do things on my own again. And so one day my occupational therapist came up to me and she said, "Joan, today I'm going to teach you how to make toast." And I thought, what? Teach me how to make toast? I'm at St. Mary's Academy and I'm learning how to make toast? What kind of nut house is this that I'm in? See, again, everybody's crazy, but Joan, I'm the only one that has everything together, so I think. So I thought, okay, if I got to get out of this place, so I'm going to do whatever Michelle says. So I thought, okay, let's go make some toast. So she wheels me into the kitchen. She said, "Okay, Joan, let's get started." You guys, I didn't have a clue. Absolutely didn't have a clue. I didn't know that this box that was plugged into the wall was a toaster, and I didn't know what it did, didn't recognize it, had no idea. I did recognize bread, but I didn't know what you did with this stuff. So Michelle literally had to show me step by step how to make toast. How to take the bread out of the bag, put it in the slots, and then push the lever down. Then she tells me, okay, when you push the lever down, it's going to go into the toaster and it's going to cook. When it pops up, it's going to be a different color and it's going to be hot. Don't touch it. And I'm thinking, oh my God, why do I have to learn how to make toast? This is just crazy. You see, my word memory of making toast was just something you did. not something you had to think about. And now I didn't have a clue. Didn't have a clue. Michelle also had to help me shower and get dressed. God bless her, she loves her job. My eyes were a total mess. A piece of my skull had nicked my optic nerve and permanently damaged it, so I was left with permanent double vision, sometimes triple, sometimes quadruple. Whenever I turned my head or went in and out, whatever, the things would fly all over the place. There'd be so many things going in and out and all around. So the room was always full of everything, just absolutely everything. So I had to figure out which was the real arm that would go through the real shirt sleeve, and then do it again with the other arm. Then came the shirt and the pants and the shoes. I mean, it was crazy, absolutely overwhelming. Needless to say, getting dressed took so long. I kept thinking, if they would just show me step by step how to do it and guide the arm, guide the leg, but oh no, I had to learn how to do it on my own in this nut house. I spent nearly 2 months in Rio, and 2 months in Rio and 4 years in St. Mary's Academy. And when my husband, John, came to pick me up to bring me home, I was so excited. We were finally going home. I thought, and because due to my husband's injuries, he was in a hard cast from his ankle to his knee, to his thigh. So he couldn't drive anymore, but he was able to find, God bless him, I mean, this man of mine is just, he's amazing. He found a ride every single day to Rio and was there when I woke up in the morning. He went to all my therapies with me. My day was full of seeing different doctors, different therapists. I was sleeping about 18 hours a day to help my brain recover, so sometimes I would nod off wherever I was at for half an hour, sometimes 2, 3. It didn't matter where I was or what I was doing. If my body said sleep, I slept. But John was always right by my side when I woke up, so I felt a little more confident and more... The support was there. There was more than crazy people. There was one sane person in this hospital, and that was my husband. Well, I mean, actually, 2 sane people. Anyway, so when he came to pick me up to bring me home, I thought we went to my sister Rita's house. I said, "What are you doing at Rita's?" And he tried to reassure me, no, this was our house. And I thought, oh my God, he's going to try to convince me I'm crazy too. But I went on, when I was listening to him, trying to rationalize it with me. Anyway, I didn't even recognize our own dog, Wiley. Now she sees me walking up the walk to go into the front door, and she bolts out the front door, and the next thing I hear is, ooh, 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 and she's running around me, her tail's wagging. I'm thinking, oh my God, they threw a manic dog in the mix. I gotta find my cat. We've never owned a cat. Never, ever, in our 32 years of marriage, owned a cat. But for weeks, I looked for a cat we never owned and tolerated a dog we'd had for years. I knew something was really wrong when I couldn't remember John's name. One day I said to him, I know I married you and I love you very, very much, but I can't remember your name. Do you think that was my choice to forget the love of my life's first name? Or his choice to forget his wife of 7 years, to have his wife of 7 years forget his first name? That's brain injury. There is no choice there. In one moment, I was robbed of 6 years of calendar life. I thought I was 36 when I woke from my coma. I was 42. And 42 years of emotional memory. The best explanation of that is my husband John and I were married in my parents' backyard. But emotionally, and to this day, it was just a party in my parents' yard. Just a party where people gathered together and ate some food. We honeymooned at the beach. Emotionally, week at the beach. Nothing more, nothing less. Our wedding and our honeymoon. You should have more vivid memories and sentimental memories than that. The loss of emotional memory haunts me to this day. It's just something that I don't know if I'll ever get over. Well, that might have been a low point in a relationship, but John is my knight in shining armor and takes his marriage vows very, very seriously. I imagine you've been to weddings, you've heard the for better, for worse. Well, let me tell you, this was not the for better. This was so much more the for worse. He was being tested big time then, as he has been every single day since that crash. I hope and I pray, and I mean this in all sincerity, that brain injury never enters your life in any way, shape, or form. Brain injury is permanent, it's insidious, and every day rears its ugly head. There's not a day that goes by that I won't find that there isn't a challenge that's put in front of me. I don't know how big, I don't know how small, I don't know when or where, but it's in that moment I have to figure out how to get through that challenge. Often it takes a physical toll on me, sometimes emotional, sometimes both. And if it's both, I'm down for the count, and I mean flat down on the couch or in my bed, and you don't want to come near me because what's coming out of here is going to be poison. You don't want to hear what's coming out of there. Because I needed 24-hour care when I first got home from the hospital, John made the choice to take 6 months off work without pay. No income coming in, guys, no income. To make sure that I was safe, that I had my helmet on, that I was eating, because I didn't even feel like eating anymore. That's what my brain was so scrambled that eating was just nothing. So he had to trick me into doing that. And I was on a whole host of meds that had to be taken at a certain dosage, certain time. And with brain injury, you don't mess around. They say you take this medicine at a certain time, certain dose, you do it. Well, I was sleeping about 10 to 15 hours a day then, so sometimes John would have to wake me up just to give me my meds, and then I'd fall back to sleep again. See how choices impact lives? Good choice, great outcome. Bad choice, consequences you don't want to deal with. My second surgery was a cranioplasty, and that's where they put a plate in my head to protect my brain. Remember that squash peach? Well, my head was clearly caved in. So they had to put a plate, and it took 50 staples to secure the plate, to secure the plate, which is bone from a cadaver, which is a dead body. The 50 staples to secure that plate to what was left of my skull. So someone's choice to donate their body to science is protecting my brain, or someone's choice to drink and then drive just about destroyed my brain. Back to choice, that beautiful gift. One syllable word, and huge ramifications, good or bad. When the neurosurgeon took the 50 staples out of my head, it was the most excruciating pain I have ever been through, and I've been through childbirth. I thought that was painful, but this is something that was just over the top painful, over the top. And there was nothing they can't give you drugs for. Anyway, it was something else, again, I wouldn't wish on anybody. Excuse me. I needed a third surgery on my right eye because it was clearly strabismic, which is the optical term clear to the right. But before I could get my eye surgery done, my eye fixed, I needed to go up to see a doctor to have a Botox injection in my eye to fix the muscle damage that was also that happened as part of the crash. So the specialist is up in Seattle, and again with brain injury, you want to see specialists because brain injury, your brain is so intricate. There's just so many moving parts. They have to. It's not just something that anybody can do. So this specialist is up in Seattle. John rents a car, we go up to Seattle, we ride the train up to Seattle. Then he rents the car and we go to the doctor's office. And we meet the doctor, he explains what he was going to be doing, which I didn't understand. Even with an optical background, I had no idea. My optical knowledge was gone along with pieces of brain that was still in a petri dish. Anyway, but I did understand when he said, Mrs. Miller, why don't you sit down and I'll numb your eye. Put a drop in your eye. I said, okay, that's fine. So I sat down, he put a drop in my eye, and the next thing I look up and I see this doctor standing in front of me with a needle that probably was about a foot thick. Yeah, I'm sure. And then I see that needle coming into my eye, pausing, and then I see that needle coming out of my eye. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever experienced watching the needle coming into your eye and then seeing it go back out, but let me tell you, it messes with your psyche big time. Next was my eye surgery, and this involved a very sharp scalpel, a very skilled ophthalmologist, cut the two main muscles of my eye, moved it back to where it was supposed to be, and then reattached the muscles. More downtime, more anesthetic, more recovery, and it didn't have to happen. It shouldn't have had to happen. One bad choice. I hope you're beginning to understand how powerful choice is. Each and every one of you have so much power in the choices that you make. You don't even realize that power, probably. The choice of socks you put on in the morning doesn't matter so much. But what you do, what you drink, what you smoke, what you eat, and then get into behind the wheel of a car, all that matters to not only you, your family, but the entire community. That's the power of choice. Let me ask you, have you ever experienced any short-term memory issues, like forgot where your keys or your phone or your coffee, where you put any of those things? Exactly. Everybody does it. Every day. Just hundreds of times sometimes. Well, what if you were going through your day and all of a sudden you thought, man, I can't remember if I put my deodorant on. Oh, man. Or, do I even have my underwear on? I can't remember. Oh. And what if your friend came up to you and said, hey, you got tickets to a Blazer game or a Timbers game or a rock concert or a jazz concert or movies, whatever, and I want you to go. But you can't. Because if you have to go to the bathroom or you want to get something to eat, you won't be able to find your way back to the seat. And God forbid, if there's stairs, you'll fall. All because your short-term memory and your balance is so compromised. What if you couldn't go to any more 4th of July celebrations because looking up at the sky to see the fireworks, you'll fall over because your balance is so bad. And the noise and all those people, everything is just too overwhelming. Plus, you're on the ground. How about the things you take for granted? Like walking or talking, depth perception. So when you can safely walk down a curb or walk up a curb without falling, because if you fall or even jolt your head a little too much, it could kill you because your skull is so fragile. Imagine struggling to zip your zipper or any zipper, button your shirt, tie your shoes. These things now have to be planned out step by step in order to complete them. And in order to get dressed properly, you have to lay the things, your clothes on your bed the way you're going to put them on so that you don't wear things backwards. You're probably thinking, well, I would know if my shirt was on backwards. Really? Not if you don't remember what front is. But my pants would feel weird. Not if you don't remember what it felt like to feel right. That's short-term memory challenges I come up with every single day. And probably will for the rest of my life. What would you do if all of a sudden you had serious fatigue issues? So serious that you needed 2 naps a day in order to make it through the night, 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. Do you think that would compromise your day a bit? Do you think your boss or your teachers would say, okay, time for you to lay down and take a nap? Probably not so much. Well, what happens if you don't get the rest that you need? Well, I can tell you from my standpoint, you'd start walking into walls, slamming into door jambs, and everything you pick up, you drop. It falls right through your fingers. You just keep dropping everything, and then you just get madder and madder because you just can't connect with anything, and you get so mad, but you're unable to control your anger because no more you can, it's out of your control. It's absolutely out of your control. I'd like to share a rundown of the immediate medical monies that John and I were responsible for. Stabilizing John and I and transporting us to a trauma hospital was $2,000. Keep in mind, this was in '99. This is quite 25 years ago. Emergency brain surgery, 4 days in a coma and 2 weeks in ICU, $1.2 million. The medical jet from Ogden to Portland, $6,000. The 2-month stay in Rio was $60,000. Nowadays, that would be a 6-digit number because of the intensive rehab I need. And they don't let people stay in Rio for two months anymore. Because of insurance, they want them out. So it's, again, not a fun thing to have to be up against. The cranioplasty was $17,000. My Botox injection, $600. And I bet you could find $600 to spend besides having a needle stuck in your eye, right? Yeah. My eye surgery, $13,000. The total dollar amount was $1,300,000. The amount John and I, and that's not counting loss of income, the amount John and I were responsible for after the insurance and stuff was $250,000. How many of you out there have $250,000 just to play with, so to speak, or in case of an emergency? $250,000. The driver was way underinsured. In fact, his insurance wouldn't even pay for part of the craniotomy, much less the additional surgeries and loss of income and intensive rehab I needed for years and years and years. For the past 24 years, I've been unable to work and unable to drive, and I'll never be able to drive again. Never be able to drive. Because of the choices made by the drunk driver, my choices were made for me. Nobody has that right. Nobody. The driver did get caught. If you recall, it was hit and run. He did get caught and spent the night in a city jail. However, because he was active duty U.S. Air Force, drinking at the Non-Commissioned Officers Club on Hill Air Force Base where he was stationed, he got sent back to the base where he stayed in the brig, the military jail, until he received his dishonorable discharge. Because of his choices, this young man, he was only 24, threw away his military career and left one of the worst blemishes on his record a person could leave, a dishonorable discharge from drinking and driving and fleeing the scene. He joined the Air Force to become a pilot. That's gone. All gone. Even though this young man forever changed John's in my life, I forgave him. As soon as I had my world around me, I forgave him. I knew he didn't intend to do this. However, his choices said otherwise. And with that in mind, if you don't have a plan in place before you leave, and you might be drinking, if wherever you're going you might be drinking, even if there's just a sliver of a chance, then you have enacted that plan to hit, injure, kill, hopefully not kill, any of it. But you'll put that plan in action to do that, be that devastator of the devastation. If you stay on the path that got you here, if you're out there, because you've been picked up for drinking and driving, it'll turn into a path of injury, possibly permanent injury, like myself, even as an innocent victim, prison, death. It's not if it'll happen, it's when. It's going to happen if you keep doing the things that you're doing without making better choices. One bad choice, lives permanently changed. While riding a Lyft bus, a paratransit bus, when I was starting to get my world around me, it was about a year to the day from my discharge from Rio, a distracted driver came flying up the hill as the bus was turning on our street and T-boned me T-boned the bus right where I was sitting. So again, I am taken to the hospital to get checked out. Now, John was at work, and he came home to a message from TriMet Lyft that said, "This is TriMet Lyft. Your wife's been in an accident. We don't know where she is or what condition she's in. But if you have any questions, call us." For what? A net cake recipe? Come on. I mean, that's what John had to come home to. So he's traumatized again. Luckily, my neighbor saw, and I told her where I was going. But still, that's trauma for John he didn't have to deal with. Trauma for me that I'm back in the hospital again. A few years ago, John and I were driving down the street. Well, John driving, me riding. And a person comes flying out of the side street and bam, here we go again. I get T-boned, we're T-boned right in the passenger side. My head hits the window again. This time I lost my body. my body memory kicked in. I don't remember the crash, but my body does, and I just started crying and breathing heavily. I was just crazy. It was just awful. It was so awful. John went to go talk to the police, and luckily there was a very kind lady that was right outside my car, outside the car, and she helped me get out of the car, and she's holding me and trying to calm me down. And when John and the police officer saw, they came back to the car, but still, again, trauma upon trauma upon trauma. Now, anything that is coming at my right, from my right side, whether it be a bird, a ball, and especially if I see a car parked on a side street, it scares the heck out of me. I flinch. Sometimes I cry. Sometimes I freeze. I'm always grabbing something when there's something. It could be like a bird flying in the air, but if I see it, wow, it's terrifying. I'm able to decipher between police cars when they're in code 3 and fire trucks when they're in code 3 too, which lights and sirens, just because of, again, muscle memory from that horrible crash. And again, I don't recall anything from the crash, but my body remembers it all. I'm going to leave you with this. 64% of brain injuries are alcohol related. And of that 64%, 100% of them are completely preventable. It's too late for me. I am one of those statistics. I don't get the luxury of reset. You do. You can make the choice right here and now to never, ever drink and drive again, to never get into a car with somebody who's been drinking and thinks that they can drive, and you want to save them. By saving them, get their keys. You'll save yourself, them, and the community around. You never know. Someone else could be permanently injured. Do you want to be part of the problem or part of the solution? I'm glad I chose to be part of the solution when I decided many, many years ago to stop drinking and driving. I could have done this to myself. I could have done it to any of you. Or worse yet, killed somebody. That is not acceptable. No choice. I would never, and I'm sure you wouldn't either. Plain and simple. It's all about choice. And your choice matters because you matter. Don't let anybody ever tell you different. Absolutely not. I hope you understand now why my choice is my voice. This is too damned important to go without saving, and I will talk until I can't talk anymore. And because I'm Italian, I have these, so somehow I'll get through. Thank you.